change healthcare insurance for many retired city employees. It means that the city would eliminate traditional Medicare as an option, making privatized Medicare Advantage plans the only option available. City is set to move ahead with a deadline of June 30th for those who want to opt out. But the city is now facing a lawsuit from retirees who say that the Advantage plan will not allow them to see doctors that are not included in its narrower scope. Joining me now to talk through the issues here is Marianne Pizzitola, a retired FDNY worker who's also the president of the NYC Organization of Public Service Retirees. With me here in the studio is Jake Gardner, a lawyer leading that class action lawsuit to preserve retirement benefits. Thank you both for coming on the show. And Marianne, let me start with you. This has been brewing for a number of years now. The city attempted to do this before. What is different about the situation now from your point of view?
Well, the argument's basically still the same. Our organization is trying to push forward to protect retirees both on litigation and legislation. The reason being is that we have been saying, which one of the major points that our unions are not listening, or media is not listening to, is that our benefits are being stripped away from us to enrich our former unions. I understand you spoke with Mr. Garrido last week, and he's insisting that this has to be done to us to save the city money. But this isn't going to save the city money, and it's actually going to cost us money. And as a correction too, you said June 30th was the opt-out or waive deadline. It's actually July 10th, and we're in the middle of litigation on that procedure right now. But one of the things that needs to be clarified with this is that our unions don't negotiate for us. We are not in a union. I don't elect my union, these union leaders. I don't vote on contracts. These decisions are being made upon us, forced upon us. This is a problem because privatizing our healthcare is the main purpose was this, when you talked about the stabilization fund with Mr. Garrido, was to enrich themselves. They took our funding to help finance their health insurance. And this was literally done on the backs of retirees, these wonderful people behind me.
But Marianne, let me ask you about the, sort of the basics of union solidarity, right? I mean, there are those who are coming into the job and the union tries to look out for them and their benefits, and then there are the active workers, and then there are the retirees. And at least one major union, the UFT, I know that retirees do get a vote. I mean, there's supposed to be sort of a solidarity that holds it all together. What the union leadership has told me is that they're trying to sort of balance a lot of different things, including keeping the stabilization fund solvent.
Well, the stabilization fund is something that benefits active workers and under 65 retirees. If you are in a union or had a welfare fund, then you would only, as a Medicare eligible retiree, the only thing you would get from the stabilization fund is a prescription, vision, and dental plan. And that's if you're union, because we have many retirees that are non-union, managers, former city council, mayors, etc. That fund that you're speaking about does not benefit primarily a Medicare eligible retired person. That fund was founded in 1986 to finance the health insurance premium difference between two plans for active workers and non-Medicare retirees. Point blank, Municipal Labor Committee today admitted in a meeting that they need to sell off our health care to finance them, to enrich the active workers. Our retirees today, you want to talk solidarity, we make low fixed pensions. Many of our retirees, like DC 37 retirees, for example, make 2/3 of them make under $25,000 a year, 1/3 of them make under 12. Tell me how selling them off in privatized healthcare plans where they would have additional costs is a benefit.
Okay,
it's not.
Let me bring Jake Gardner into this. This sounds like a dispute between, say, retirees and the union to which they pay dues over the course of their employment. Why is this a matter of law, and what are you trying to achieve with the lawsuit?
So our dispute is actually with the city. Even though the unions are, the interests are conflicting between the union, active union members and retirees, our dispute is solely with the city. The city previously 2 years ago tried to force retirees into a Medicare Advantage plan by making them pay a prohibitively expensive amount for their existing Medicare benefits. The Supreme Court and the Appellate Division struck that down, said that it violated a city administrative code, section 12126. The city, rather than accept that legislative defeat, and also rather than accept the political defeat in the city council, because the city council refused to amend that statute, they decided, okay, well, we're just going to not offer Medicare plus supplemental insurance. And so that is even more egregious, and even it violates even more laws than our original lawsuit. So we brought a lawsuit in May with 12 counts. So we allege that this new overhaul of retiree health care is unlawful in 12 separate ways.
And what's the one that would make the most sense to my viewing audience?
Yeah. So I think the one that's sort of easiest to wrap your head around is just an everyday person who doesn't have any background in the law, is that for a half a century, the city promised every single active worker and retiree that when they became Medicare eligible, in other words, when they became elderly or disabled, they would be taken care of with city-funded Medicare plus Medicare supplemental insurance, which is far better than Medicare Advantage insurance. And then after 50 years of making that promise and retirees making decisions in their lives based on that promise, so detrimentally relying on it, the city said, actually, you know what, we're not going to honor that promise anymore.
What you're talking about is that what they call Medigap? If there's Medicare, and then the city would sort of supplement it in order to get you the full range of things that one might need?
Correct.
Right, but that was paid for through the stabilization fund, which now has $0 in it, right?
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Let me let Mr. Gardner answer.
Yeah, so that's I would defer to Marianne on this, and that's not true. But I don't actually think that's legally relevant. What's relevant is the benefits that are provided to retirees and the benefits that they are owed, and they are owed unquestionably Medicare plus Medicare supplemental insurance, and the city is sitting on a historic budget surplus. So this is a lot of money at stake, but the city has the money to fund its promises.
You're characterizing those promises as deferred compensation? That's something that's owed for work that people did?
In our lawsuit, we don't actually characterize it as deferred compensation, but I think that's one way of potentially looking at it.
Okay. I want to read something. One of your members, Marianne, sent us a letter. They're saying, we currently live in Clemens, North Carolina, and both our major hospitals, Novant Health and Atrium Wake Forest Baptist Hospital, have told me personally they do not accept the Aetna plan that New York City is trying to put us into. I have gone in person to each of our 11 doctors and have been told they also do not accept Aetna Advantage plans. These doctors are a cardiologist, a neurologist, a spinal surgeon, urologist, and an oncologist. And the letter goes on to say a lot more, but is that the heart of the problem, Marianne, that there are lots of people who are going to find that the doctors that they're dealing with, even if they're not in New York, are not going to be part of this plan?
That's one of many, many problems. I think there's a lot of issues with this. The plan is a diminishment of our benefit. Many of our doctors are not going to accept it. Yes, there's prior authorizations, which we currently do not have now. Yes, there are additional costs. I know Mr. Garrido had said that the plan offers a $1,500 out-of-pocket cap. We don't need a cap right now. There are no expenses in our plan. So when we keep saying that this is not going to save us money or save the city money, this is actually going to harm retirees, we're not kidding. But no one wants to listen to that. And Mr. Garrido and the unions and the municipal labor committee's main focus is to finance or get a cash infusion into the health insurance stabilization fund, which, no, sir, I have to keep saying, does not pay for premium for a Medicare retiree.
Marianne, are you saying retirees do not benefit in any way from the stabilization fund?
Minutely. The only thing we get would be, if we are in a union that has a welfare fund, we get a prescription, vision, and dental plan. That stabilization fund was made for one purpose and one purpose only: to pay for premium between two plans, primarily for active workers and non-Medicare retirees. The reason being is because the city has a cap of what it has to pay up to. Our plans for Medicare retirees only pays 20% of our health insurance. Our plans are very inexpensive. That stabilization fund that everyone's fighting over pays for the active worker. And today the unions are trying to find a cash infusion for it by selling off our health care. You want to know why we're angry at our former unions? Because they just balanced the budget on our backs.
Okay, we are going to leave it there. We'll be following both the lawsuit and your continued dispute with the existing union leadership. And I thank you for coming on to explain it tonight.
Thanks so much.
Errol, I want to add one more thing to you. We need this legislation by the city council because the very people that were supposed to protect us haven't. This is why we've come out to support this legislation.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take a break now. When we come back, I'll talk about last night's primary election results and much. Welcome back to inside City Hall. You just heard from a retired municipal employee and a lawyer leading the case over the city's changes to health care benefits for former employees. Here now to talk about that ongoing fight and much more are the members of our politics panel. Laura Namias is a senior reporter covering city and state politics at Bloomberg News. And joining us as he does every Wednesday, New York One political commentator Herson Barrero. Thank you both for being here. And Herson, let me start with you. I mean, this is a case where the retirees are saying that they were led down a path. They're being betrayed both by their current union leadership and by a mayor who himself is a former city employee who said during the campaign that to change up their retiree benefits would be a bait and switch. Who's right? Who's wrong? How's the politics going to work out?
Well, the retirees, the people whose existence are sacrifices for the city, and as you know, we're old enough to remember some of the things that union members gave up instead of taking pay increases so that the unions could survive, the city could survive. So these are real New Yorkinos with major sacrifices and thinking that their retirement years would be spent in a more comfortable way, not have to worry about the insurance and health insurance and other things they need. So I think it's disgraceful for the current members who are younger, the younger members of the leadership of executive committees who are benefiting from the dues that these people, these union members, retirees have paid. And the younger folks in the unions, listen, look in the mirror. That's what they're going to do to you in the future when you make the sacrifices now. And as far as Eric Adams, he should really be embarrassed by this. I know that, you know, certain unions have contributed to him and done things right, and he's worked out deals. But this is disgraceful. This is no way to encourage people to go into municipal employment and then depend with their unions. They should just kick out all the current leadership.
Yeah. What do you think, Laura? I mean, we've seen unions, quote unquote, eat their young by, you know, sort of stiffing new workers on certain benefits in order to benefit the current workers. I don't think I've ever seen a case that, you know, as we just saw, seems to involve the current workers and the current union leadership taking from the retirees.
Yeah, I think to Herson's point, it might have the short-term effects intended to save money might end up having a sort of more deleterious long-term effect in terms of people wanting to go into city employment. I know this seems like a gold-plated benefit, especially given the cost of healthcare and how much that's rising, which is should be a bigger part of the conversation in general. But it is very difficult to entice people into city service. And we're seeing that more than ever now with these still double-digit vacancy rates in city employment, and severing benefits for retired workers potentially could be sending the wrong message to future potential hires who might just be inclined to skip serving the city altogether.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel for people like the viewer who sent the letter in saying that, you know, 11 specialists, 11 doctors and medical people that they want to see are not going to be included, and now they're left in their retirement years chasing around trying to find people that the plan will cover. Laura, I believe you were